Are you tired of the same old ideal client avatar exercise? If so, you're going to want to watch this video because we are going to freshen it up and give you what you actually need out of knowing what your ideal client avatar looks like, sounds like, thinks like, etc. So tune in. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Emma Gibbons. I'm a brand messaging strategist, copywriter, and copywriting coach for the entrepreneurs out there who want to learn how to do all these things themselves. So if that's interesting to you, please consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. All right, that question I asked you. If it resonates, give me a thumbs up. Are you tired of the same old ideal client avatar exercise? Chances are you just gave a little thumbs up because I've heard this time and time again. People wondering why they even have to do this in the first place because it doesn't really give them a lot more to work with. And I get where people come from when they assign this in their online courses. So I remember myself, I went through B School, for example. And in B School, it's one of those exercises we did really early on. The way that people design these ideal client avatar exercises is where the problem comes. And that is because too many of them focus on demographics. And demographics include things like, what is their age? How many kids do they have? What's the value of their house? Stuff like that. Things that you can see from the outside, right? Externally, you could take a picture of them and you have a sense of the demographic questions answers. And they're helpful. I still use them, right? Because it gives you a sense of the circumstances in which they find themselves. But what we know this, right? Like the way things appear isn't always what they're really like on the inside. So it doesn't really give us a lot of useful information to go with. And I think it's people picking up on this that brings up the resistance to this exercise. When people say, I'm for everyone, for example, you can't possibly, when you try to be for everyone, you end up being for no one. But I still get where people are coming from, right? When they see this exercise that seems to really reduce who it is that they're helping to a certain, socioeconomic background, that doesn't feel true. And I think that's why people end up resisting it and saying, but I could help anybody. The truth is, it's not about anybody. It's about a certain person. It's about a certain psychology. It's about a certain type of value system. So if you're not helping everybody in the world, but you're not helping someone just restricted to these demographic markers. And I think that's where that resentment comes from. So when I work with my clients, for example, in VIP days, I go through the whole brand messaging process with my clients, and we come out with this beautiful guide that lets us know everything from a little bit of the demographics all the way through the specific examples of how their clients speak, and even your archetypes, etc. There's a lot in it. But what's the most important thing about the ideal client avatar exercise is not the demographics. Those are a small portion. It's the psychographics. And that is what's missing way too often from these interesting online business courses. So psychographics actually show you who a person is. It's not just that external snapshot. It's really getting a sense of who they are on the inside. So they get you in touch with the values of that person. Just because they spend money on a big house doesn't mean that that's actually something they value. Maybe they resent living in such a big house. Maybe they inherited it. Who knows, right? Just because you spend money on something doesn't mean that you don't regret doing it. We often spend money on the things that we value, but that doesn't actually show us for sure that they're happy with that choice. And they may be wanting to change their lives, right? This, I think, is especially important if you're any kind of coach, like a life coach especially. Demographics give you a snapshot of their circumstances that they find themselves in. But really, you're not selling to the person who's happy with those circumstances. There's something more that they desire, right? Which is why psychographics become so incredibly important. So I'm going to give you some examples of the psychographic questions that I ask my clients as we go through that VIP day together. So that way you have a greater sense of what really matters. What do you really need to know about your ideal clients? Beyond the demographic markers, who are they on the inside so you can take them on that psychological journey from first time they see you to actually working together one-on-one in a group, however it's set up. The first example, what are they secretly afraid of? They may be okay saying, I'm afraid of this, but what is it that they'd rather the people around them don't know that they're afraid of? Maybe, the first thing that comes to mind is maybe they've almost maxed out their credit card and they haven't shared that with anybody. and they're afraid that they're going to reach that upper limit any day now, and all the stress that comes up with that. What does that mean about the life that they're living, etc.? It gives you so much more information when you know what they're secretly afraid of. A question that's kind of a variation, it's a little similar, is what keeps them up at night? When they're lying in bed and they can't fall asleep, what is it that they're actually worrying about? That gives you incredible insight into where they're at on their own psychological journey, and also what they see as the biggest risks to their life and their security. Next is, who are they angry at and why? This could be parents. This could be societal beauty standards. It gives you a very strong sense of what gets them riled up, what gets them passionate, and where they feel things like injustice, where they actually care enough to channel their energy in a sense. So it gives you a really good idea of what in brand storytelling is the enemy or the villain. It's always something external. It's not necessarily that there's like an evil person that they're trying to work against, but what do they see is standing in their way? Whether it's true or not, what is the barrier that they're blaming for taking that next step? And if you can speak to that and you can disarm that, you can actually help them take the next step and change their life. It can be really, really powerful to answer this question. What do they secretly desire the most? Yes, we want to know what they outwardly desire the most and what they're comfortable saying, but is there something more that they're hoping for? Something that they think is impossible, so they dare not even put it out into the universe? What do they actually really, really want at the end of the day that they may not tell anyone? But, maybe you're one of the first people who acknowledges it and says, hey, it's okay to want more. It could be really, really powerful to actually be able to put words to that. So when they read your sales page, for example, they see themselves reflected and they feel understood. Here's another one that's kind of fun. What are, and I give the kind of arbitrary number of 5 daily frustrations they face. I like to give examples like their commute. Maybe that frustrates the heck out of them. And whether you just use that as a passing like, hey, I get you on social media, or maybe it actually speaks to the fact that they're living a life that's not in alignment. Like maybe you help them with tiny houses and maybe somehow that affects their commute, right? You can actually speak directly to it in a really powerful way, as well as this kind of, hey, I just get what's holding you up in life kind of way. This is a good one too. What problem would they pay money to have solved? I always think of things like cleaning the house. Maybe you're a house cleaner, maybe you're not, and you just want to say, hey, I live this kind of life too. I'm a busy mom, I'm working full time and taking care of them. If I could just have someone help me once a week, you can actually just connect with them on a level that says you're similar. Or you can speak to, well, actually, is that something you wish you had time for? Do you want to be able to take care of your space and you feel like you're wasting time in another area of your life? There's so many different directions you could take it, right? But you know your ideal clients best. And just having this more inner information, like what is actually going on the inside, what do they really value, that can make all the difference in the world. Here's one that could be sort of demographic, but I see it as psychographic. And that is, do they have their own language? And the reason it could be demographic is maybe it's just they speak a different native tongue. Maybe you're an English teacher and, your background is Spanish speaking, so you like to help other Spanish speakers to learn English. Okay, so then you'd answer Spanish. But I also really, really want to focus on what is it in terms of like jargon or friends lingo or generational slang? What do they use there, right? Are they a Gen Z who absolutely loves TikTok and knows all the best songs and knows all the famous people there? Is that an easy reference point for them? Can you relate to them on that and speak to that? Or is it that they are lawyers and so you can use legal language? It's not something that's over their head. It actually suits them. So it can be really important to give a sense of, who they are on the inside as well as that kind of demographic. Like how do they talk to the people who are their peers kind of sense. So I feel like that kind of bridges the two worlds. And I find it to be a super helpful one, especially because oftentimes people realize, oh, my person is not a very spiritual person. I am, but they're not. And I'm trying to help them kind of begin their journey. So coming right at them with anything that they might see as woo-woo is a bit much. Meet them where they're actually at, right? So that's a really helpful question as well, to make sure that you are meeting them the way that they currently speak. So you can come up with a common language with them and not go over their head by accident or, make them think, oh, this is too basic because I already know all these legal terms. It can be really, really helpful. So those are some of my favorite psychographic questions, and I think if you spend a little bit of time answering these, you're actually going to have a much better sense of who your person is. So you don't have to feel constrained necessarily by, the neighborhood that they live in, because maybe you find that in common, they actually all desire for, maybe they all want to be a singer. And one person comes from, is like a teenager who's just graduating high school and wishes that they could create a career for themselves in singing. Maybe one of them is, you can basically see people from all different stages of life, different phases of life, who somehow have something in common. So maybe all those people have in common that they know the world of musical theater. But, one is a man in his 50s and one is a girl who's 16, right? But there may be so much in common there that you've narrowed down your audience, but you're not narrowing demographically, you're narrowing psychographically, right? The way that they actually feel, what they value. That feels so much better to do, and it really freshens up this exercise and shows you the value of doing an ideal client avatar exercise. So if that's something you're looking for support with, because it can feel a little bit overwhelming to get into psychographics, how do you extract those values and the nuances of how you can use that for brand storytelling, then 100% that is something I can help you with. That's something I do in VIP days with my clients. So especially now when this video is coming out in November, this is a really, really good time of year to lock in that VIP day and get your brand storytelling in place, create a brand messaging guide that's going to last you the lifetime of your business. So that way you can enter into the next year 100% confident that you're speaking the language that they understand, and you're able to use that in copywriting and content marketing, like blog posts, social media, etc. So I really invite you to book a discovery call with me so we can talk about whether this is the right fit for you. But I feel like if you're watching this video, this is going to be a really, really good experience. So check out the discovery call link in the description box below, and I can't wait to actually get to chat with you and meet you one-on-one. Alright, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Hit the notification bell below so you never miss a video. Alright, I will see you next Thursday. If you are interested in more about copy and content writing, then consider visiting one of my videos so that way you can actually learn more about these really powerful topics. Alright, I will see you next Thursday. Bye!